Dom, home sweet home. Nice to be back in action again. A quick one, talking on the present. We're going to talk on the past. Fury Chisora. Do you think the fight should have happened?
It's just speaking of that with Rich and a couple of people. What amazes me about Britain, in America, we've had those mega fights. We talked about Dempsey with 100,000 against Tunney and Ali 70,000 with Spinks, and Canelo was drawing his share of 30,000 person crowds. What amazed us is this is the third time they fought. And, John, it was a non-competitive fight going in, and it was non-competitive when they fought. God bless them for making that kind of money. How do you explain that many people showing up for a fight that wasn't, it wasn't Joshua, it wasn't Usyk, it wasn't a fight that, wow, this is what the public wants to see, Deontay Wilder. It was a fight that had already taken place twice. They knew the outcome the first two times. They assume the outcome now. I don't know, it's great if the fighters can make it. What's amazing that it was a success. How do you explain that?
Well, I think to me it was the Tyson Fury show. That's what it was.
Right.
You spoke of the record, you spoke of the past, you spoke the fact that he'd beaten him twice, the second one better than the first one. So this was about Tyson Fury, the showman. Tyson Fury, that's who they came to see. I don't think there was hardly anybody but Derek and his team that thought the result would be otherwise. But in the performance itself, I can remember doing an interview when we were out in Saudi, and this was the kind of the thing. What people are saying now is Derek should just step out of this. He should walk away. He's going to get hurt.
Yeah,
this conversation was had a while ago. Fighters need to be safe from themselves. I've got much respect for Don, Don Charles, very smart guy, very smart, clever guy. But the person that I think looked out for Derek most that night, when people say pull him out, get him out of there. Don knows how hard he was training, so he knows how tough he was. So that's no disrespect to Don. From the outside looking in, I thought the person that saved Derek Chisora was Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
Tyson Fury picked, he poked, he held, he took it easy. So that performance should actually tell you, you know what, this guy's been out so long. Look how he easily dismantled, manhandled a very strong, hard training Derek Chisora, regardless of how wide the marks were. So Tyson Fury was the one that was actually saving him from not actually putting him out, taking him out of there.
Yeah. Look, he knew what he had in front of him, and I guess he could manipulate it as he wished to do so. Look, it's wonderful the fighters can do it. It's wonderful the fans respond to those kind of fights, even if it's non-competitive. Russell Peltz, a very well-known American boxing promoter who is in the Hall of Fame. He's from Philly, boxing fan before he was a promoter, said, we don't promote fights anymore, Don. They promote fighters. It's a personality. It's a celebrity-driven industry, no different than watching a singer like a rock star, like a Taylor Swift. They don't care who the backup singers are, who the band is. They go to see her, and whatever she sang or whatever a young rock star would sing, they'll go to see it. So boxing has become like that. As you said, it's the Tyson Fury show. It could make it a bigger fight if he fights an Usyk or a Joshua, but he's got the crowd, and they're going to go see him, and it doesn't matter anymore. It's not a sport; it's entertainment.
You mentioned Fury. You mentioned Usyk. You mentioned Joshua. Fury v Usyk. They say maybe next. How do you see that? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, there's that old adage, Sean, as you know well, the good big man beats the good small man. In this case, it may be a greater, smaller man. But I just don't, as you said, he manhandled Chisora, who was in shape, who was a real strong heavyweight, irrespective of the third fight, maybe past his peak, but he went in there. This was his last shot. He controlled the fight from the beginning. Of course, Usyk's a better fighter. I just don't know. I think he's just too small. Now, I was the guy that picked Joshua to beat Usyk, and I was wrong, among a couple of other people. But I think now Fury is the best heavyweight. Usyk, terrific fight. I just don't think he can go that much further. He can't give up 50 pounds to a guy almost equal in ability. In my opinion, maybe a little less. But I just think Fury physically, and even almost in terms of ability, is just going to win the fight. I see it going 12 rounds and him winning a decision. What's your take on it, John?
I totally agree with you. I totally agree. I think Tyson Fury has proved that he's the best heavyweight by far in the world. And until someone is around to do that, you can't argue the case. He's proved that on every level. Usyk is an outstanding boxer, but I think so is Tyson Fury. Size of him, the knowledge he has of warfare. And you're talking about fighters, promoters promoting shows and fighters, you're promoting individuals. That's what the fight game is now. And you can't just be a good fighter. You've got to be the whole package. You've got to be a good salesman. You've got to be able to I'm quite sure amongst just under 8 billion people on this earth, there's probably some man out there that could beat Tyson Fury. But why would we want to watch? Why would we don't know about him. You don't, how is he going to sell himself? How is he going to put himself present? Tyson Fury has packaged himself for him to believe that, for the general public to believe, let's say, look, I'm not just a fighter. My war starts the second the fight's announced. And that's probably what makes him so intriguing. And you can look back in fights after that in the past. You go to Mike Tyson, you go before that to Wally, you go back to Jack Johnson. It's about being a character, and as well as a good fighter. So I totally agree with you. I think Fury beats Usyk. I think he's too big and has too much skill for Usyk to pickpocket him. You mentioned the Hall of Fame earlier on. And our old friend, a good friend of mine, Carl Froch, he's singing and dancing. He's in it. He's been chosen, one of the chosen few.
I had the pleasure of working with him when he was Mick Hennessy. We made a lot of matches. He went into that tournament with the Sauerlands that they ran and got to the final with Ward. It was sort of a round robin. He had lost. The Kessler came back and beat him. Look, to me, I said, what a deserving guy. Here's a guy, if you look at him, he reminds me a lot of Michael Spinks. He's not this spectacular guy that comes out throwing tremendous combinations of great speed, but he's just a tough, gritty guy. He's the kind of guy, all he does is win, and you look back on it, he beat Pascal and knocked out Butte and beat Kessler and beat Abraham. Jermaine Taylor was a terrific fight when he came to America, losing and then coming back, knocking him out late in the fight. He did everything, and Andre Ward, the last fight, and then he put Groves and retired on top, John. Didn't keep going, but he would fight anybody, any style. He was just really old school. We talk about the guys today won't fight anybody. Here's a guy that said yes to everybody and came through 99.9% of the time. No, I'm really proud that he got it. I think really he's deserving. I think he's pride for British boxing and just tough, gritty guy. I would love to see the dream match, him and Calzaghe. Unfortunately, that's another bout that was never made. But I think so. What do you think, John? I think, again, he's like...
I totally agree. I totally agree. Carl Froch he's like Marmite in and out of the ring. And to me, I love Marmite. And I think if someone deserves it, he does. And I'm quite sure he's going to make the most of it. He's going to make sure everybody knows about it. And he's going to ram it. That might be his new 80,000 line, but it's going to be fun how he soaks up the success of being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's always had
one extreme to doing it.
Yeah, that droll sense of humor. Knows how to exploit that.
From one extreme to the other, the silence is deafening from the Conor Benn situation. How do you think that will pan out? Because a few are saying that, he's liable to get off this. He's liable to drop this. He's liable to come up with some sort of way out. What's your take on it? What's your take on the silence, the time it's taking?
Well, we have a saying, they say in American baseball that when the guy gets to the base, the tie goes to the runner, the aggressive player. And in boxing, tie goes to the attraction. And it appears to me, if you're a big attraction, if you mean something, somehow, some way, you seem to get by it, So the silence is what? I guess everybody's afraid of litigation. Everybody's threatening to sue everybody else. The board held strong, maybe to their credit. They said you failed, you violated the rules. Obviously, they didn't file a big lawsuit at that point to overturn it. They accepted it. But I guess they're re-examining it. I would have to think Johnny gets reinstated at some point. He'll get a fine. He'll get maybe as he's under suspension. But I can see him getting reinstated in fight. I just think, he's one of the few attractions. There's a couple of big fights out there. If he was a 4 or 6 round fighter, he'd probably be banned for life. I don't mean to sound cynical, but I think he gets through it. I don't think he's tainted, obviously, with the public. Yeah. He's tainted with the people who know what went on. That you can't deny. But will he get in there to make another payday? I seem to think yes.
I agree. I do think the accusation will not be reversed. I think he'll have to do his time and fight, and he'll rise to the top again, and rise to that. And listen, it will always be a cloud over his career, but he'll have to do his time, pay for that, and then he'll be back in the mix again. So Conor Benn, he's the kind of character, like it or not, that it's not just about his fighting skills; it's the character. But well, let's see how fair's fair. Let's see how it falls. Anthony Joshua, Dylan Whyte. Is there a possibility we can see that again?
Well, if they learn from anything from the fight that took place recently with Chisora and Fury, I guess probably that's what we're going to do. We're going to get a lot of retreads, it appears. This is like going on television. All you get is reruns. You don't get any new programming. It's unfortunate. Well, I don't know what the public can do to try to do that. But if they're supporting these fights, as it did Chisora, I guess they just keep going on. We can make money with this. You know,
Don, do you think this is happening because fights are not being made? Fury, AJ.
Yeah.
So do you think we want to try and get the next biggest attraction? Do you think that's why these happen? Fury, Chisora, AJ, Whyte.
I believe yes. They got to do something. So if you say I want the best fight out there, we can't make that. The guy's not going to retire. You know, you got to fight, and the public say, well, we can't see the best, but we'll go for the second, the third, the fourth best. You know, the phenomenon to me, I remember when I worked with Lennox Lewis's people for many years, and we tried to do Lewis Holyfield. It was impossible because Lewis had a contract with HBO, and Holyfield had a contract with Showtime. One was with Don King, one was with the Main Events, and they were great rivals. But it was more the television company, not millionaire boxing promoters, but billion and now trillion-dollar TV companies. And they finally made a deal. You know, after a while, it was a draw, very controversial. They did the rematch. But it took a long time. And now you've got Zone with fighters, Fox TV or PBC with Showtime with fighters. You've got Top Rank with ESPN with fighters. It's now a team sport, and the team is tied in so strongly to the TV. They are really the promoter. The promoter is now a manager. A manager is a guy who gives some money to a fighter till he develops. So the whole tradition and the chain of command is broken down. So the Zone is saying, we invested hundreds of millions now into boxing. We're not letting our attraction go and fight on another network. It's not go and fight another fighter. It's go and fight on a competitive network. And I think that's holding up a lot of things. You know, I think it took a long time. When Joshua was champ, there seemed to be no chance of making the fight. Then they talked about it, but you don't know when Tyson Fury's shooting from the lip. You know, I want the fight, like Crawford and Spence. Well, we made an offer. Well, you can always make an offer to a fighter. And you can, if you don't want to fight and it's not enough, you always can turn it down for more money. If you make an offer, you can offer always too little money if you don't want to make the fight. So whatever the parameters were in the Joshua fight, it's a shame. But, you know, this is you're getting I don't know, even getting the best, second best fights. You're getting what's available, what the guys are willing to do. And it's happened before. And unfortunately, it seems to be happening more and more now because you don't have independent managers who can sign with any promoter. They're tied up with a promoter. And if that promoter's television company, that's so. It's the TV company that has hundreds of millions of dollars now committed to boxing, saying, I didn't build this attraction for him to go fight on another network.
Yeah. You know what? I agree. Unfortunately, show business, and the business is killing the show. And this is one of the examples amongst many in our game that we need to be careful where we don't shoot ourselves in the foot. Don, it's been a pleasure. Let's get on to real business now.